One of the biggest anime shows in the last few years, a show that literally no one will shut up talking about, a show that the second I hear someone talk about it, I run into hiding. I'm instead talking about Demon Slayer. It's one of the most popular manga of all time, even though it just came out a few years ago. The big question is, should you watch Demon Slayer or should you read Demon Slayer? Well, if you give me a few freaking minutes, I will let you know which is the best option. Short answer is though, watch the anime. The manga sucks, honestly. The long answer is the rest of this video. Now, the anime for Demon Slayer is for sure something you've seen at some point. I mean, it honestly would be hard to still be on the internet to this day and not see any Demon Slayer memes or clips from the movie or anything at all. With that said, there is a lot to like about the anime version. First off, the anime basically has no filler. Now, that might seem kind of like an obvious thing, but some of the biggest anime right now, Naruto, Dragon Ball, have some of the most filler that you can really find. Now, filler is not necessarily a bad thing in all contexts, really, but it just makes the watch experience easier if there is less filler. But thankfully, Demon Slayer is filler-free, at least as of right now. That could change in the future with more seasons, but as of right now, there is no filler. So everything I'm saying here applies to the anime and both the movie. They're obviously going to do more movies, so it applies to the movie that's already been out and then any future stuff, hopefully, too. The animation for this shit is top tier. Like, I think even someone that hates Demon Slayer should be able to admit that the animation here is done super, super well. But also something here, the sound design and the music overall is just awesome. I wouldn't say it's as good as like Fire Force is on their sound effects, but overall it's still really good. And speaking of sound, the dub for the show is pretty good. Actually, from what I know, most people watch the dub version of Demon Slayer, which I think also kind of wraps around to this big overarching thing that's why a lot of people like Demon Slayer, and a lot of new people start watching Demon Slayer as their first anime because the dub is so good that it just comes off really beginner friendly and kind of newcomer friendly. And also something that makes this really beginner friendly is the fact that it honestly is a super simple, easy to understand story. And because the story of Demon Slayer is already so simple, the anime pretty much just has to present it in an easy to digest package, which it does so really well here with the awesome animation, voice acting, music, sound design, all that stuff wraps around this really simple story to kind of create a show that, while it's not inherently amazing, comes off as super newcomer friendly, like I've already said, and really just easy to watch. It's a show that you can just pick up and watch, and it's a fun watch because it's so like stimulating, I guess. And I'm not saying the story's bad, I'm just saying it's not really complex, there's not too many things happening, there's not hundreds of characters, it's pretty simple. I think especially when you look at things like Attack on Titan, they're just kind of complex the further you get in, and the more you watch and consume of it, the more the story develops, which is kind of how it's supposed to be. Demon Slayer develops a story, but it's also really good at kind of keeping it grounded and confined, which I appreciate as a watcher, but I'm sure also new anime watchers also appreciate too. Now, I think the anime is great to watch. The big negative here about the anime is that it's still ongoing and it's not finished. And the anime is actually still pretty early on in terms of the story that's being told here. It's not even really halfway through the entire story of Demon Slayer, and it's been out for a decent amount of time now. And because the first Demon Slayer movie did so good, I'm assuming that we're going to get more of the story chopped up between the TV show and more movies. So we'll probably see more movies just because it makes sense. It's financially probably the best decision. They make a lot of money that way. So that's also a negative. If you're going to be watching the anime, you have to deal with the show and movies taking a break to obviously be made and everything. So it's not a super steady release schedule, basically. Especially with COVID, things are just happening, things are getting delayed. So you never really know when things are truly coming out versus when they're supposed to be out. So that's kind of the biggest negative with the anime route as far as consuming Demon Slayer, is that it's going to take a lot longer to get through it. And even right now, if you were to consume all of the Demon Slayer anime, you still have to wait no matter what for more content to be pushed out. So it's kind of just a waiting game, really. Now, the manga is pretty interesting because obviously I've watched Demon Slayer up to whatever's out currently right now, and I've finished the manga too, and I was not a big fan of the manga. I will say some of the aspects from the show, like I said, the easy to follow story, the super basic kind of narrative, and just character designs in general, and comedic tones are still in the manga. But I'd be lying if I said the manga is great or has a ton of redeeming qualities, really. See, for me, like 70% of Demon Slayer is the animation. It's just looking at how cool this shit is on screen. And then the rest of it's just kind of, I guess, cool voice acting, good story, that sort of thing, right? When you take away 70% of my enjoyment, it's kind of hard to be super attached to something. And I think that's also like the biggest issue with the manga. The artwork I just found to be not great. Like, it's not bad artwork, but as far as like it being one of the greatest mangas as far as sales right now, the artwork just doesn't really translate that much. I think as the series goes on, though, the artwork does get better. So like artwork in volume 1 to like volume 15 is completely different in my opinion, but I still don't think it's that great. And there's also this weird thing with the manga. I'm not going to obviously talk spoilers here, but the manga, in my opinion, doesn't have a great ending. I think it really fumbles in the ending entirely, honestly. That's one thing I'm hoping the show does change, is just give it a better ending and hopefully wrap it up in a better way. But I think the manga definitely does not do a great job of completing the story and giving a satisfying kind of conclusion. It just comes off very like it just didn't know when to stop, and it just keeps going and going. But then he's not horrible, it's just not great. But obviously the big positive with going the manga route is that the story's finished. You can pick up, I think the box set is out right now. I don't really keep up with box set releases because I feel like they're just kind of all over the place. But you can pick up Demon Slayer either physically or read it digitally through the Shonen Jump app, and it's completed. You can read it right now entirely if you really want to. So that's obviously the big positive, is if you pick the series up digitally or physically, like I said, you can finish it whenever you want. You're not waiting on anyone or any sort of publisher or anything like that. It's just all up to you. With that said, I've explained the anime and the manga and kind of its pros and cons. I think I might have been a little bit too negative on the manga side. It still is an enjoyable read because of how easy and seamless it is to read through it, and it is really engaging, and the action is still cool despite the art style not being amazing. You still get like the cool weapons and abilities and all that stuff is still there, and the comedic moments are still actually in the manga. Actually, I think the manga is a little bit more funny than the anime sometimes, but I actually don't think either of those is the best experience, at least right now. In my opinion, the best way to consume Demon Slayer is actually just by kind of doing a mix mash of both. I think ultimately if the anime was out by now and completed, I would honestly just say forget the manga, just go the anime route. You're getting everything plus more in that side, at least, you know, if they finish it well. But as of right now, that's obviously not the case. So being that you can't really finish the anime, I would say the best thing to do is just watch the anime as it comes out and then finish the manga as far as just how much you want to finish. So if you want to complete the manga and just get the actual story plot completed in your head and read it all through and everything, that's good. And then just watch the anime as it comes out to see it kind of in its full glory with all the great animation and sound design and everything. Now, like I said, that once the anime is finished, honestly, I would say just forget the manga, just go the anime route completely. So if you're watching this in a few years from now and the anime is finished, just go anime. Trust me, you'll have a way more, I think, pleasurable pause experience than if you go manga. So that's just my opinion. But ultimately, this is all just my opinion. There's no right way or wrong way to consume a series. The right way is just the way that you want to. So if you want to consume Demon Slayer by reading on the Shonen Jump app on your phone, that's perfectly fine, bro. Do what you got to do. Consume this series in whatever way you prefer. I'm just giving you guys my opinion, but what do you think? Have you seen Demon Slayer? Have you watched it? Have you read it? Which one do you prefer? Am I just dropping a ton of hot takes in this video? Let me know, and have a good one.